I heard from the mayor, and he's running a little late. He's hoping to make the 7 o'clock meeting. He wasn't sure whether he'd get in for the work session, so.
Okay.
I think we're ready to go. I think I see Nicole up there. So before we get started, I'd like to interrupt this program for an important announcement. Couple quick things. You all, and I was going to wait till the end of the meeting, but I want to make sure I get this in. So Proposition HH failed,
Yay.
as you know. And you also know that that measure was really designed to reduce property taxes because we'd seen this huge spike in assessed values. Our folks were going to get hit with these big tax bills. The legislature was doing its thing.
I'd say that was one design of many.
It was yeah, it was very complicated.
So
Certainly not the only.
It was the piece that was designed to get it to pass.
Fair enough. Anyway, it failed. Governor called
Soft,
the
really.
legislature back. They're going back next weekend. Word has it that they will I won't say likely. Word has it that they may freeze property tax rates back to the prior 2 years is going to be their legislative fix. So that may or may not happen. Nobody really knows.
So they're gonna make them what they were retroactively 2 years ago, possibly?
Do what?
Move them back to what they were 2 years ago?
Correct. Correct. So failing that, I know that some towns are taking advantage of a temporary reduction through Senate Bill 108, which was passed and signed by the governor this year in June, which would allow local government taxing authorities to provide temporary property tax relief through temporary property tax credits and or mill levy reductions. So, and I wanted to make sure that you were aware of it. It's something maybe we can talk about during our budget wrap-up next week or next meeting, which is the way we'll close out budget season. And then, of course, we'll pass the budget on December 11th. But I did want to bring this up. We do, as you know, collect a property tax. It's relatively small. It would stand to go up about $87,000 in 2024. And with the increase in water rates, I know you all are concerned about that. This might be a way to lessen that blow a little bit if the state doesn't do it. But I don't think we want to do, and maybe we want to do both. I don't know. But I think it's worth talking about. I just wanted to put it out there, and I'll send out some information, written information for you following this meeting, and we can maybe discuss it next time.
Definitely appreciate the Britain part, because that way people that aren't here,
Correct.
be sure to get the information too.
Yep. Okay. Well, and then also, while we're hearing the presentations tonight, I'm going to hand out something I should have emailed you with, and that's the executive session material for tonight. And I'll just pass it out here as we get started. But with all that said, tonight we're going to talk some general fund topics, community development, police department, town treasurer, general administration, human resources, town administrator, town attorney, and then we'll wrap up introducing the fee schedule, if we can get all that done. And the only way we're going to do that is if I stop talking. Nicole, take it away.
Alrighty. Okay, so at the last meeting, we went over recreation and special events. So we're gonna hit the ground running with the building department. And so the first slide is what the building department is responsible for, which is new application intake, and that's reviewing for completeness, creating folders and assigning permit numbers, processing applications, issuing permits, assessing permit fees, re-inspect fees and use tax, administering best tests, process and issue contractors' licenses, schedule and complete inspections, track progress on issued permits, along with customer service calls, emails and walk-ins, and addressing properties. And that's re-addressing and new addresses for new subdivisions. Thank you. And then for the 2023 accomplishments, these are year-to-date. We had the full title rewrite for Title 15 with the building code adoptions. Contractors' licenses issued are 239.
It happens.
Best tests are 75, permits issued are 213, COs issued this year are 68, and inspections completed are 743.
Was that about the same as last year? Close?
As far as which one? The permits issued
yeah.
are less because River Run did all of their 70 permits last year.
Oh, yes.
So this year is gonna be significantly lower with single families. And then once Camarillo comes in after they get their infrastructure done and they start pulling permits, next year we'll elevate again. So it's just gonna kinda go up and down as new subdivisions are pulling permits.
Okay.
The proposed budget is $143,750, which is a 23% increase. Our goals and objectives for this upcoming year are to hire a building inspector, decrease the time frame for permit issuance and reviews, which we are actually on the faster end of permit issuance compared to our neighboring towns, but there's always room to grow. So if we can continue to strive to decrease the time frame in which people are waiting for things, that's always going to be a goal and objective of ours.
Do you have a number in mind?
Right now, we're hitting about 8 weeks for a single family. We would love to get that down to closer to 6 weeks.
Wow, that's pretty aggressive.
It is. Yep. That's our ending goal, is to try to decrease it to where people are not waiting as long. And obviously, that's dependent upon when they get us corrections back. It may take 10 to 12 weeks because we were waiting on corrections from them for, 3 or 4 weeks. So, but we'd like to have our portion done, our zoning review done, and our building review done, and corrections, and a corrections list to them within 6 weeks. And right now, we're hitting between 8 and 10 weeks. So an on-staff inspector would definitely help decrease that time frame, that wait time.
Is this something you've heard from people trying to get permits? Oh, why is this taking so long, et cetera, et
We
cetera?
consistently hear that, which I know is just kind of across the board. I've talked to other municipalities.
Yeah, I'm sure
and-
every
I think it doesn't matter
municipality has
how
the
fast
same,
it is.
same
Yeah.
thing.
You're gonna have some people saying,
Anything less than
It shouldn't
now is
take
too
this
long.
long.
yeah.
Yeah.
should be
If
able
you
to
want
walk
it
in
now.
and
They want
back
same
out
day
with it.
issuance.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I'd like to price out community development software, and I heard last week that we need to revamp our best test because I guess there's some pictures with the answer key, or because when we grade them, they get highlighted the right answer if they got it wrong. There's some pictures circulating that somebody came and told me about last week, so I threw that on there last week because revamping our best test is definitely going to be a necessity. Organize archives and retention files. We've gotten a good start on that, but there's still plenty more to do. And then send resources to educate contractors is a goal that I'd like to do in 24.
So can you explain that to me a little, or expand on that a little bit? Or do you mean like publish the resources somewhere where they can go to get them? What does that mean in practice?
What I was going to do until we get our new website up and going, what I was going to do is just send out email blasts. Like every week, send out an email blast of new information, especially as we've kind of ventured into this 2018 energy code. That's going to be, we've been educating contractors as they're coming in, but I think not necessarily a newsletter, but something similar of, did you know this is what Emmanuel J requires, and send that out, and then it kind of has the guiding steps for them. And that'll alleviate so many phone calls, I'm hoping, and hours on the phone for me to explain it. if I put it in an email blast and then I just have it already in writing that I can just re-send to people as they're questioning things.
But we can't publish it until the website gets redone. That's
Well,
one of the sort of
On the
subheadings under
website,
that.
yeah, so that's why we would do it by email instead of just putting it on the website, because we're quickly running out of space.
Yeah. When you say price out community development software, are you just going to look at prices, or are you planning on getting some too?
So that's my goal for next year. We're launching the recreation one for 24, and what I'd like to do is price out for 25 budget to see what exactly that would entail to do everything digitally for the community development department. So that would be people being able to apply for permits online, request inspections online rather than calling in. It would just kind of bring everything up to more of like a digital realm. And there's a lot of software, and we've actually looked into iWorks, which is what Trey uses for Public Works, and they have a really advanced software for community development. We're just not quite, we're still a small municipality. I don't know that the cost of a software can justify what we actually produce as far as numbers.
That makes sense.
And then issues or concerns would be hiring a building inspector, which we've been trying to do for a while. We have a couple good leads going on here, so we're keeping our fingers crossed for that. And that would be training them and then keeping them after we train them. So that retention is a big one for building inspectors. Accurate record keeping, past and present. That's digitizing past records and organizing past records. That again falls into some of that. The retention schedule that we have for the building department is pretty significant. So it's just organizing. We have documents from back in the 90s that we are finding with stuff that is in the 2000s. It's just trying to make sure everything's organized and get a grip on that.
Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yes.
Might find something of religious significance.
There are some cobwebs on things for sure.
Hey, separation of church and state.
It was so old, it was before that.
Oh, okay.
And then the timely issuance and review of permits, and then limited inspection days and times, which is what we're currently encountering with our contract inspector. He's here 2 days a week, and everybody's adapted really well to that. It's working, but at some point in the future, it'd be nice to expand, and that would happen with an on-staff inspector.
I agree. It would be nice to have an on-staff inspector, just for that reason. He's here 5 days a week as opposed to.
Yep, it wouldn't limit the inspections.
Would they have other use cases other than just inspections?
So when we get an on-staff building inspector,
Not if. I like that. That's-
when we're going to, he or she will issue permits
Okay.
and do inspections and eventually step into plan review so that we're not having to contract that stuff out, which would decrease the time frame that it would take to process permits and increase how many inspections we do on what days and what times.
That's great. It's a resource throughout the life cycle.
Yeah.
Right, as opposed to just a portion of it.
It would be, yep, it would be start to finish.
That brings up what are you currently doing with plan reviews?
We have contracted Shums Coda, and they've been wonderful. We can get them a set of plans sent to them, and they have a review back to us within 10 days.
Uh-huh.
So their portion of everything is moving pretty quickly. They have been a little backlogged, so it's increased just a few times from the 10 days, but everything's being sent to them, and they're stationed out of California. So when we send something to them for a review, it can be somebody in a different state. They're nationwide. So it's not even necessarily somebody in Colorado or in our area. They just review it for code compliance based off of our adopted building codes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the zoning review is something that's more specific to just our town, and that's done more local. That's done by Mark,
Oh, okay.
yes.
And I might be jumping ahead, but are there any cost increases for Mark or?
There are not.
Bill-
Most of what Mark does is billable back to the applicants.
Okay.
Well, that is the case with a lot of our contracted services. They sign a billable party form, and a lot of what our contracted services process is billed back to the applicants.
Okay, well, thank you.
Is there any other questions on the building department before we jump into zoning? Okay. Next up, we have the planning and zoning. What is the planning department responsible for? The planning department is land use applications, which includes special use, variance, site plan reviews, annexations. The applications are similar to the building applications, where it's the intake, processing, and then bringing applications in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission or the Board of Trustees. There are public notices, requirements that the planning side of the department does, resolutions, P and Z meetings, intergovernmental communications, building, permit, zoning reviews, GIS mapping, research, and customer service. And again, we try to put as much on these slides as we can, but there's always something missing.
Now, are you in charge of GIS mapping for like water and sewer, or is that Public Works?
No, that's Public Works. We use Esri,
Uh-huh.
and they have their ArcGIS system set up. I've been working with them on the zoning map. But most of what they've done, I don't think that we've had any significant updates outside of, they switched from collector, and so Trey had to get all that set up for his guys to switch over to their new
Uh-huh.
new
Okay.
app. But yeah, we work with the Esri folks over there that help us pull everything together.
Does this budget, Nicole, include the costs for recording the meetings? We talked about that, I think, a month or two ago.
The new proposed budget, so that's the 23 budget. The new proposed budget does include the additional. Amy did add the
I got
additional.
ahead of us,
Yeah.
okay.
And then accomplishments year to date, we've had 11 site plan reviews, 5 special use permits, 2 annexations, 3 zoning variances, 2 fence exemptions, 3 sign exemptions, 1 preliminary plan, 3 boundary adjustments, and then the P and Z meetings, zoning reviews, we've had a total of 213. And then I also do census and GARCO updates for all of our land use and developments in the town. So the 24 budget decreased. Oh wait, no, we added something back in there. I was not able to confirm with Amy. This number is not gonna be right. There was a metro district, $110,000 of a metro district that was initially removed from the budget when I had it printed. And then it had been added back, and I just didn't have a new printout of what the budget was. So that number's not actually gonna be correct.
It's 202,150.
Perfect. See, Amy knows everything.
I don't know that.
Yeah. So no decrease.
So there's not gonna end
Pretty
up being a
flat.
decrease. But there was, we definitely did add to the budget to stream the, planning and zoning meetings. I'm not sure exactly where that went in the budget, but it did get added. We did talk about it.
It's in there somewhere.
It's in there somewhere.
It's in the planning and zoning line items,
Perfect.
the actual commission line items.
Oh, planning and zoning commission. So that will be added to that.
Yeah, I'm glad we're doing that.
It'll be really good, yeah.
Does that include transcription?
It does not. I don't believe. No.
No, it's just Churchill's cost for doing that, putting it on the YouTube channel, I think.
Yeah.
Would it also be, well, if it's on the YouTube channel, then people can pull up past ones that way. I just want to make sure they have access to past ones if they had a question about something or want to look back on it.
Yep. Yeah, so it'll be exactly like the trustee meetings are currently. And
Nice.
then goals and objectives. We'd like to shorten the processing time for land use applications. Again, the time frame is still where it should be with only having one planning and zoning meeting a month. But if there's anything we can do for the future to streamline anything, we'd like to continue to work on shortening processing time all the way around. Would definitely like to clean up code sections, primarily the public notice requirements, and Title 17 is due for a facelift. Create affordable housing code and policies, which we have an additional contracted planner that is going to come in and help us with that. And then utilize the contracted planners as needed, and increase community engagement is always at the top of the list for everything. Issues and concerns, as I noted, the public notice requirements. We are going to work through that and see if there's anything we can do to add additional options, since the newspaper only publishes 3 days a week. It makes public notices a little more difficult on our side to have a little bit of flexibility to notice maybe in another way. So we're going to work through that and see if we can do anything differently there. And then contracted planner availability, time management, and that is just making sure that we create enough time for staff to do trainings and continuing education, time to keep things organized, it's always hard. That's definitely one of the things that gets put on the back burner, because it's one of the less pressing matters is archives and organization. And then all the rest of the small things that are hard to find time for. And that is it for planning and zoning. Does anybody have any questions on planning and zoning? Okay, then we will move on to community development administration. So the responsibility of the ComDev administration is meetings, phone calls, emails, customer service, communications such as the website, Facebook and Instagram, the LED sign on 9th Street, TextMyGov, the access channel, flyers, and distribution. Whoop, I just went way past there. Town rentals, we do the town center rentals and the field rentals, and then business licenses, manage whole department function, and public records requests. 23 accomplishments would be social media posts were 397, TextMyGov members are 235, and between the incoming and outgoing messages, there was 56,850 messages through TextMyGov. Business licenses issued year to date is 124, town center rentals are 56, and field rentals are 254.
So is there a separation between the outgoing and incoming messages? I was just wondering if there's more citizens, trying to communicate that way than anything else.
The majority of those are outgoing. That is
Okay.
us communicating with them. Their platform their analytics are not the most user-friendly. Between Trey, Sheila, and I, we were desperately trying to figure out the backside of the analytics, and anything short of us physically going in and counting pages and pages of information.
Oh, okay.
That is the best numbers I could get at this point. But
Can you send me an email about that,
I will.
just outside of all this?
Okay.
Thanks.
Yes. And then the proposed budget is a 9% increase for 24. And goals and objectives are to develop a new website that's ADA compliant, that we can incorporate with the Sports Connect, which is our new recreation software, and the Discover Silt website. Integrate town rentals into the Sports Connect software, which as soon as I get that fully up and going, I think we can add the town center rental and the sports field rentals into that same programming. That'll just auto calculate spreadsheets and stuff for us, so that we don't have to do a whole lot more there. And then increase communications and release all communications in English and Spanish. which has been a goal of Jeff's, that we start trying to do all communications across the board in English and Spanish as much as possible. So we're all going to strive to get to that point that we are communicating with our community as a whole.
Yeah, and I think at one time you asked the question, should we do English and Spanish separate or together? But I mean, personally, I feel do them together. And that way, there isn't, you know what I'm trying to say. Everybody gets the same information. There isn't anything, I'm not saying anything would happen, but
Yeah.
that there could be some people saying, well, this letter is different than that letter when they're the same. So that's just my thought. Have everything the same, then.
Yeah. That's great feedback. Thank you.
Are we doing those translations manually?
Google is doing those translations.
And it's always right. So good news.
Yes. Yeah, we have full faith in Google.
I was a little reluctant to use that service because I wasn't clear on how accurate it really is, but I've been assured that it's very proper.
I was gonna say, do we have somebody read through it, just, that's a native speaker, just to make sure there's nothing that would be just an odd thing that would pop up that would be like, wait, it doesn't sound right?
Yeah, and I think it's because it, like Jeff was saying, it's proper it's like proper Spanish, proper English. So when you're using an app or like a translator like that, it's not going to be in like the slang context of which people might actually speak on a daily basis, but it's accurate and proper enough that it'll get the point across, even if it's not how somebody would say it, like an everyday conversation.
Yep.
It's less expensive than paying someone to do it manually.
Yes, sir.
At my last job, we stopped using it just because it's the ski industry and tourism, and there's so much of the terminology that's specific to tourism that Google didn't have the translations out of the box.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's applicable to municipal language, but that those specific things, code snippets and whatnot, may warrant somebody reviewing them.
And I've thought
Yeah.
that we should probably find, one or two people in the community just to read those for us and give us feedback on how they're accepted or taken. Because we obviously don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah.
But I haven't taken the next step on that, finding that person. I'm
Well,
sure there's a
and-
volunteer out there.
Yeah, and this is all relatively new. This has just been the last couple of weeks, so you guys are just getting an overview of something that has barely been launched. So
It's still beta.
it is, yeah,
Right.
correct.
Do you have room on your 9th Street sign to do them in both?
We
or-
sometimes. So like right now I have basketball up there in English and Spanish for registration, but we don't always have enough space. We can only do up to 8 slides. Well, we should only do. We can do as many as we want. Whether or not they're all going to get read is a different story.
Yeah.
So we limit it to 8 with the thought process that at some point, like as those circulate through, people will see all of them hopefully. So if we have room to do Spanish and English, we do. And then if we don't, then we just keep it to English and hoping to hit everything else in Spanish enough that it's still getting the communication out there.
So if you ever see anybody out there doing laps, it's just because they want to catch every single one of us.
That's the only reason?
Only reason.
I only see it once a day when I come into town, and that's only for 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah, it's not very long,
Yeah.
for sure. And then issues and concerns, our workspace, the community development department would benefit from additional workspace, as we currently have 3 employees and hopefully a 4th soon. So, and we can make it work, but we're a little cramped in there and definitely could utilize some more space to roll out plans and do some of the things that we need to do in that office.
Where would that space come from?
That has been a topic of conversation.
Too soon?
I'm going to talk about it a little bit. The garage.
They're gonna de-spider it
Nope.
before I go in there.
I'm going to say too soon,
So, and then, did anybody have any questions on admin before we jump to the commission? Alrighty.
I have a quick question. The website redo, is that going to be an RFP?
Yes. Well, yes, potentially. Because there is an organization that is helping everybody around, and there's actually grant money for it.
You
So,
go through that organization.
yeah. Yeah. And that's something that I believe the state has put together.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to not pay for a whole lot.
It's the State Internet Portal Authority, SIPA for short. They're very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's our goal, is to pay for as little as possible with the redo of the website. And then,
Make it work.
yes. And then jumping into the Planning and Zoning Commission, what they are responsible for is the Planning and Zoning Commissioners are appointed by the Board of Trustees to serve as a decision-making and recommending body on a variety of land use and zoning regulations. The Planning Commission is a 7-member board consisting of 5 permanent members and 2 alternates. The Planning and Zoning Commission meets the first Tuesday of each month, or more often as necessary. Meetings are held at 6:30 at Town Hall and via Zoom. The commissioners are a recommending body for annexations, zoning, rezoning, preliminary sketch and final plans, as well as special use permits. And the commissioners are a final decision-making body for variances, sign exceptions, comprehensive plan amendments, and site plan reviews. Year to date, they have accomplished 11 regular meetings, 4 joint meetings, 23 land use applications, the Title 15 building code adoption, rewrite feedback, and they've also done a couple training sessions with our town attorneys, because we've had a pretty significant turnover of commissioners this year. Goals and objectives are to, and this came from the commissioners. Their goals are to support the Board of Trustees and town staff. The goals of the town for the commission is to continue training opportunities and give regular legal updates as we get new commissioners and engage and educate the community. There is an increase of 10% in the budget, and that goes towards the YouTube to get everything streamed
Oh, okay.
for the meetings so that they can be rewatched. Issues and concerns, commissioners resigning and terms expiring. That's just when, it's not a huge concern, but it's just a concern when we have such a big turnover in one year. So just making sure that we keep all of the commissioners on board with what we're doing. Limiting the meetings to once a month. We try our hardest to limit those meetings to once a month, and every once in a while we have to add an additional meeting, but we try to keep that limited so that we don't burn the commissioners out as well. And then community engagement and community education.
Has the commission specifically mentioned only wanting to meet once per month? Has there been pushback on those rare cases where you've had to have more than one?
Not pushback, but we got in a habit there for a little bit of trying to do 2 a month. And it was brought up that, well, wait a second, that's supposed to be a rare occasion. Let's make sure we don't make a habit out of this. And so we're super cognizant now of making sure that does there really need to be a second meeting, or can somebody wait the extra 2 weeks from when that second meeting would take place, and just we can do everything then. It's pretty rare that we're, up against the wall with something that that would have to come in front of the commissioners 2 weeks earlier than what it's scheduled to, because that's what it would end up being, is 2 weeks earlier.
Because their compensation is based on 1 meeting a month. And if we're doing that on a regular basis, more than that, do they get extra compensation?
No,
if there's an
theirs
extra
is
meeting?
per meeting,
Is it per
is how they
meeting?
get paid, yeah.
No, I think it's,
Yeah, ours is,
I think the
Ours
commission is per
monthly. Is
month.
theirs per meeting?
unless it got switched, because I thought they got paid X amount of
If we
dollars
get paid
per meeting.
then that's, but still, I
Yeah.
just wanted, yeah.
I could be wrong.
The P&Z gets paid once per month.
It's per month.
Oh,
Okay, so it got changed, okay.
they get paid the $100 and then they
attend however meetings are required of them, unlike the board who gets paid a little more, but it covers all your meetings during that 1 month.
Okay, thanks, Sheila.
Yep.
You're welcome.
And any questions on the commissioners meeting, or on the Planning and Zoning Commission?
Do you anticipate any more significant turnover next year, knowing that you're not psychic, of course?
I don't think so. It seems like everybody that's here now cares to be here. And we just had a couple terms expire, commissioner not reapply, and then one that wasn't able to stay. And so it was just a lot of movement all at once, kind of in a short time span. But I think we're pretty solid now with where we are. So it seems like everybody's, our alternates are showing up and they're engaging. So I think we're heading in a good path.
Yeah. And the one who decided not to reapply, she had been on P&Z for years and years and years, so.
But she said not to throw her nameplate away. She might be back. Okay, so jumping into customer service officer, Angela Wagner is the town's new customer service officer. Angelo was excited to join the Town of Silt team and has been placed in the Community Development Department for his initial training. He will transition to the police department in the future where he will learn additional elements of code enforcement. In the last 5 weeks, Angelo has completed a code enforcement training, TASER 7 certification, and aerosol something. Okay, certification.
Isn't that like bear spray?
Pretty close.
Okay.
He will take additional driving certifications in 23 as well, and did pass his CIRSA driving checklist last week. So this does not include everything, but I was putting Sheila up against the wall with my late submittal of this, so it's a kind of an overview here of the different accomplishments that have happened year to date. Some of them are prior to Angelo, and some of them are with Angelo. And those range from property code violations to fence built without a permit, patio covers built without a permit, partial solar installation, carports and covers built without permits, chickens without permits, RVs being used as residents, building and zoning violations of structures that had to be red tagged, chickens without permits and ducks, yard sign violations, retaining wall with no permit, construction with no permit, zoning violations of another structure that had to be red tagged, property code violations, commercial junk vehicles, trash, rubbish. But we're on a good path forward for code enforcement. And a lot has happened in the last 5 weeks.
What's the commercial junk vehicles? Were they commercial places or?
It was a commercial location.
Okay, that's what I mean,
received the
that's what
letter,
I was-
yes. Yeah. And they got that pretty cleaned up, and I believe we have some new listings, so I think that some of this is starting to take care of itself.
So when you say he's going to transition to the police department in the future, does that mean he's still going to be customer service officer? I mean, we're not going to lose him to become a regular officer?
His ultimate goal is to become an officer as soon as he is of age. So that'll give us 3 years with him, primarily focusing on code enforcement as he learns and grows into what he wants to become as an officer.
Okay. I just bring that up because every time the town tries this, they always wind up being an officer, and then
Yes.
we're out of code enforcement.
This particular young man, he's, as they both said, he's got 3 years for training and to get everything.
We can't hear you, Mike.
I know that's what I'm saying back here.
Chop, chop.
Excuse me. Like Nicole said, he's got 3 years to be a code enforcement officer, learn the job, and pretty much set the pathway for the person who wants to take his place. he may get to the end, as some do, and say, I'm happy where I'm at. Rifle, Glenwood Springs, they've all got code enforcement officers that have started there for years and happy with where they're at. But yes, as of right now, that is his ultimate goal, is to become a full-time officer. But until that happens, Nicole's been absolutely fantastic with being able to have him in her office to teach him code, how to talk to people, be diplomatic, and be stern when need to be, and learning the town codes and what he's looking at as he drives through town. So by the time we see him, he should have a healthy step in the right direction to clean up some of the problem places in town and do it diplomatically, working with the citizens, not against them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thoroughly pleased to have him. I just, 3 years, hey, that's 3 years we got him,
I like the idea of having a pathway too for progression or evolution as a professional. We all want it as professionals, right? To see that there's something next, that we're not just stuck where we are, particularly if that person's young. It makes total sense.
And
Because
this is-
otherwise they're going to go to the town next door or nearby to get a better job there.
And this is truly a team effort, working closely with planning and zoning. And Nicole's needed a set of hands over there with special events and some other stuff. So this is, like you said, a pathway of setting the groundwork to have him succeed in the future. He succeeds, the town succeeds,
Agreed.
and vice versa.
And for him as an individual, it's a great way to see what it's like to deal with the public on that side of things, starting before you're an officer, because it doesn't get easier.
And it's a matter of talking to people and de-escalating, and that will be part of his training. Is all officers go through it, is de-escalation training, how to talk to people and do what you can to come with a peaceful resolution at the end.
Yeah, and this will be a great experience for him, for sure.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna get him in here soon to introduce him to you all. He'll be coming in. And one other thing that maybe it wasn't done when Nicole finished this, but he just received, Angelo just received his Colorado Association of Code Enforcement Officers certification, state certification. So he's, learning stuff every single day. And like Mike said, it's a cooperative effort between the two departments that are responsible for addressing code violations on a daily basis. So I think we've put together a really good program for this guy to be successful, or anyone who we hire in the future.
Do we publish that stuff anywhere, either in the newsletter or on social media, to congratulate the individual, but also to let the community know that we've got these professionals, they're evolving, they're growing in their skill set, they're learning new things? I feel like that's good proactive PR, for lack
We
of a better
actually
term.
have it prepared, it just hasn't gone out in the newsletter. I don't know
Read my mind.
if you've had it on the website yet, but
No, not yet.
we do. Matt and Nicole put some stuff together.
Cool.
So we will have something out very soon.
And reward them for their hard work, right? We all like to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think we should do that for all the employees. Just newsletter, to have a paragraph of each employee and.
We talked about that. There are some
introduce them
employees
for-
Totally
who
agree.
just don't want to have that recognition. Believe it or not,
But leave them out.
Yeah.
could do that. Yeah. One other thing, as Nicole went through those accomplishments that she outlined, it occurred to me that those are the things we should be communicating to the community. Not necessarily where those issues were and how we, but that we are out there doing that. And I don't know, we'll talk a little bit. I mean, if you have any ideas on how we might want to get the word out, I mean, even if it's just it could be like a blog post or a what do you call it, a blotter, remember the police blotter? Yeah, we could put it on there, something like that. I don't know, just something that alerts people to the fact that these are violations. And if you're gonna go out and build a fence, you probably ought to go to the town and ask them if where you're planning to build it is gonna be on top of an easement or too tall or whatever before you do that. So, those kinds of things. So I think we probably need to think about how we would inform the community about how we're dealing with those situations.
Put it on the new website.
That too.
Yeah, yeah, something, because that's what you hear most of it, you know, it's my property, I can do what I want, and then when somebody says, no, you can't, then, you know.
But how was I supposed to know?
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly, how is I supposed to
Ignorance is
know?
not an
Yeah,
excuse.
Uh-huh.
Nicole and Mike never hear that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, that's all that I had as well, if anybody had any questions on code. Righty.
We had ducks without a permit?
What's that?
So we had ducks without a permit?
Ducks are not
I know,
allowed in town. Yeah,
They're not allowed, yeah.
yeah. No, they had chickens and ducks.
Vanessa on Planning and Zoning Commission, she's all over that though, right? That was my conversation with her that, I don't know, started the whole thing off, but she was like, why can I only have X number of chickens? And I was like, are you serious? You think I have this memorized?
Derek's like, you want chickens?
Do
Why
I
would
have
you want
any chickens at all?
Yes.
Negative.
There's a grocery store, look at your eggs.
I was like, if I want chicken, I go to the store.
Got 20 if you need eggs.
Okay, Silk PD, Matt and Mike, wanna take it away?
Oh my God. I had my check.
Did everyone get a copy of this in their,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Yep.
We'll start off with the first slide, Sheila. And a lot of the information that's laid out in the form here is in the PowerPoint presentation. I'm sure, Grombeck put this together. As you can see, it's not.
This wasn't
done
your
with-
work?
With stick figures and such, so you know I didn't do it.
Crayon.
First slide is our organizational layout of how the PD is with the chain of command. You'll see that, and then we'll cover a little bit farther down, that we've now got a corporal and a detective, and we'll cover that later in the presentation. These are as of October. You'll see that our calls are up, and in basic all around calls, animal calls, arrests, traffic contacts, and you'll see at the bottom that we are up 155 traffic citations over where we were last year, trying to slow people down. Now, keep in mind, these numbers are solid numbers that come through our CAD system, which is our dispatch system. So any calls that come through dispatch that comes to us are the numbers you see before you. Okay? These do not reflect the people that come in and say, hey, I've got a question to the front office. Or, hey, do you have a minute with a phone call that comes in? So, and those that work town hall know the phone rings 24/7, or somebody's always got, whether it's a lost tourist, hey, can you tell me if the canyon's closed, or we had them stop in, hey, where's the best place to eat in town type thing. It's part of the community service thing, but it does not reflect in these numbers.
Can I ask a question about the numbers? Sorry to
Sure.
interrupt. If possible, it would be helpful for me at least to know what portion of these numbers happened after regular hours, because the premise of this is that we need an additional officer to cover overnight. It would be helpful in making that determination if we knew even generally what percentage of the overall volume happened during the hours that we're seeking the additional officer to help cover, or additional officers. Does that make sense?
Can I tag along with his question? Is the overnight officer because there is a certain time that officers on call are not getting paid? I read that on the report.
We have an on-call from 1 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Uh-huh.
During that time, there's no on-call pay being paid to the officers unless they actually get a call. If they get a call, then it is 1 hour of overtime, regardless if they have to respond or they can just handle it by phone. But just to be on call, it is not currently being paid, and that is something that we need to look at doing if we're going to choose to not add officers to have the 24/7 coverage and keep officers on call. Then we'll have to look at paying that.
Could we get that number to help offset against the cost of an additional officer? Or is it further down in the presentation maybe?
And the additional officer and the cost thereof is farther down in the presentation. I'd like to go through the presentation, then if you guys, then we can answer any, might give you a little more information. And this, and the next slide here, as you see up here, for 2 months, between officers injured and training, we were running 4 officers, one officer per shift. Due to the injuries, light duty, training, court, vacations, I mean, but unfortunately none of this was vacations. This was injuries due to the job. Matt did a great job with breaking it down. At the end of that, it averaged nearly 700 calls per officer that handled during that time of the. And I know Matt's relatively new, but as long as I've been sitting in front of this board, not only as an officer but chief, it's always been a goal of this board to strive for 24-hour coverage. And it's pricey. But we are getting closer and closer with the retention of the people we have now, and one person at a time of getting to that point. Now, if we get to that point of the 24-hour coverage with even an additional 2 people, there's still the human factor, as I call it, the unforeseen. People with court, which we're in court a lot anymore. Injuries, vacations, trainings. And with the new legislature and everything that's out there, the trainings are increasing every year. We laughed that we were training more than we're on the road anymore due to meeting state and federal regulations. You know, there's going to be a time that we don't have 24-hour coverage, even though we have these people, due to the fact of injuries or court or whatever else that's going on that's going to pull somebody away.
But adding the 2 officers would put us to where the majority of the time we would have that coverage. It would just be the rare instances beyond our control, that things that we can't plan for.
Yeah, and how much time is spent, trainings and doing reports versus you guys actually being out there?
That is a good question. but one that you can't really put a number on. For instance, let's say you folks see our monthly report and you see where it says we have a traffic stop or a traffic citation. It may be a 10-minute write out the ticket, write out the little quick report of seen XYZ speeding, wrote same. But it doesn't show in there that that traffic stop could be a DUI arrest. A DUI arrest could range anywhere, if everything goes smoothly, with report 4 hours. If it turns into something more, drugs, a fight, injuries, it could be a 10-hour. And the more in-depth the call, like a sex assault, well, you know, that could be, you could be writing on that for a week. It's hard telling. Each call is different. Each call takes its own particular amount of time. So to say, you know, traffic stops are this much and this much in report writing. Domestics, big in this valley. They could be a verbal, making notes that, hey, separate them, they aren't going to yell at each other for the rest of the night and make up later, to we may be sitting at the hospital with serious bodily injury. Each thing is going to be different. I'm sorry, did I answer your question?
No, I was just curious, you know, because if you guys are, you know, 60 or 70% of your time is actually being in here, you know, doing training and reports and stuff, and you're not out there. I was just trying to get an idea of, you know, percentage time.
Yeah,
You know.
and to give you an accurate percentage, I don't know of any way of doing it.
I think it's difficult
Yeah.
to quantify because it's going to depend on the amount of calls for service on top of that
Yeah.
versus proactive when we're actually out patrolling trying to find stuff.
Gotcha. I was just asking that is to try to help determine in my mind, you know, okay, do we need 2 officers or not? You know, that's why I was kind of, you know, doing that.
Coverage-wise, yes. Call-wise, like I got called out at 4 o'clock this morning for a domestic. So it happens. It happens a lot that we get called out. And I think that's why it's important to have that coverage, because we rely a lot on the sheriff's office, who does have 24/7 coverage, to respond to those calls. And then we're trying to get ready and respond. And versus if we had somebody on duty all the time, we could be there right away.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
we're not having to create a burden on another agency to pick up for us not being on.
Okay.
Well,
Thank
also,
you.
You got a call at 4 o'clock this
Yeah.
morning and you're here at 6:30 at night giving a presentation.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And that was my second question, because at one time the sheriff's department was helping during the off hours, and they're still continuing to do that?
Correct. And it does create a burden because they've got their own things they need to do. They've
Yeah.
got their own training, their own meetings. You know, they've got to deal with the same issues with deputies being sick, on light duty, and patrol the whole county, which is huge. And so we're having to rely on them currently. So it does create a burden on them.
And they secure the scene until we get there. They don't take our calls for us. They make sure if somebody's getting hurt, no one else is getting hurt, or medical attention's being rendered until we arrive on scene.
Okay.
Are there also incidents that require more than one officer? So it shows in the log as one incident, but more than one officer has to respond?
Correct. Just about any traffic stop, they have a second officer that will stop in and say, hey, is everything okay? Or, here, let me do your tow sheet, or, you know, help you with the paperwork to get you out of here a little bit quicker. Domestics are all at least a 2-officer response.
Yeah, I guess they kind of have to be. just for
Yes, down
protection
to-
of everybody, yeah.
Because in theory,
Jason-
there's two people in the incident. At
And,
least.
no, it's not only the primary officer writing their report, but it's supplemental. We vice versa do the same thing for Garfield County. We'll run out into the county or wherever they call for us to come assist them, and you will see a few more slides in some other assistance that we do provide outside our agency. But we're also small. Rifle's big, Glenwood's big, county's huge, Newcastle. We all really rely on each other to back each other up, and we've gone to Glenwood, we've gone to Rifle in extreme situations to assist.
Uh-huh.
So it's, like I said, the numbers are kind of, the day and night numbers, we could see what we can find. But as for how many people are on a call, it means, like, it'd been like with Nicole, go through each call and read into it to find out how many people you had there and about how long you
Yeah.
were there.
Yeah, it didn't have to be an exact number. I just didn't know if you had just some ballpark figure on the top of your head.
I don't at this time.
Okay. And then my other question is with overtime, how does your overtime work now? Do they get paid X amount of dollars for, I'm sorry, on call, my mistake. How does it work now? Do they get paid X amount of dollars for the entire time they're on call, or they just don't get anything?
Just to be on call, they don't get paid
Yeah.
anything. They only get paid if they get a call from dispatch, like if they get called out for a domestic or whatever, and however long that takes, then that would be, if it's a 2-hour call, then they get paid 2 hours of overtime.
Uh-huh. Okay, I was just curious because I believe Public Works, they get paid X amount of dollars every time they're on call, then they get paid above and beyond that when they get called out, correct? Or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly, which is why we need to look at that. If we're not going to increase staffing levels, then we need to look at paying the officers to be on call, just to be on call.
Uh-huh.
I think even if we're not increasing staffing levels, if it ever happens, I think, 'cause if we're paying a public works person to be on call, then it would make
Then,
sense
yeah, the
to have
officers
the
need to
officers
be
paid to
Paid
be.
too, yeah.
But the officers are being compensated, that's not monetarily, because each one of them has a take-home vehicle that they're, which we'll also cover a little closer into the slides, that each one of them is assigned that vehicle. They're responsible for that vehicle, not only the cleaning, maintenance, and the proper care.
Okay, I'm just.
I keep looking around the aisle to make sure
You're fine.
I include you with this. So they are, even though it's not a paycheck monetary compensation, but each one of the officers is given a take-home car. And we're still small. If we need people here, we need them here. We don't have time to play shuffle cars and figure out where everything is.
Oh, yeah, understood. But yeah, I mean, I'd definitely be in favor of paying, on call for sure. And I guess as long as I'm here, I mean, my thoughts are, I'd support one officer and maybe not two now, maybe in a year to see how things go. But those are just my thoughts.
Well,
Let's get through it.
as we go down through the
Yeah.
Presentation, yeah.
it'll give you guys a little bit of time to, kind of bounce some things around and answer following questions. Love the questions, which definitely shows definite interest. Appreciate it. Matt, you wanna go?
Yep, so onto this slide, the recruitment and retention. We put together a recruitment campaign and attracted a lateral officer from the Glenwood Springs Police Department with 3+ years experience. We also hired a new officer. He does have to be sponsored in the academy, which is gonna start in January. Because we're paying to sponsor him and paying him while he's in the academy too, we asked him to sign a 5-year contract, which he was happy to do. So we've got him locked in on a 5-year contract with the agency. And
And that
then
5 years, does that start when he's done, or?
from his hire date, which he started last month, and he's helping with code enforcement type stuff right now. And then I think Nicole covered Angelo with the CSO, with the CSO that started.
And that's not something we ever used to do. We never had to hire police officers before they went to the academy, but now it's really an imperative to get them locked up, get them started. I mean, even if they're just out getting to know the town, getting to know the department, starting to learn the code and all that
issue
stuff.
with it at all.
Well, I know, but I mean, it
My
always,
only
it
thing
always triggers that in my brain.
My only thing was, I asked the 5-year thing was, is it from when they start as an officer training out on the road? I'd like to see the 5 years go from that point forward, maybe, not from a higher date, because if we're waiting for the academy to start and then they go through the academy, we could lose almost a year just in that process before they're actually an officer. So that's something I would just think about, was
Yeah.
that the 5 years would start when they're
It's a good point.
ready to be
'cause
on their own versus
It's,
just
he'll
to give us
be
that extra time.
not 8 or 9 months before
Yeah.
he's on his own.
No,
That'd be my only thing on
Yeah,
it.
I can see your
Good
point on
idea.
that. I think it might just be a harder sell.
It'd be a harder
because
sell. No, and I understand
locking them
that
into
too.
6 years versus
Yep.
5.
No, I understand it. I'm just looking at it from the, try to keep them as long as possible
Yeah.
side.
Yep, exactly.
But I also get the recruitment and doing what we need to do, so.
What is the penalty if they break their 5-year contract?
Then they have to pay back the academy costs, which is almost $10,000.
Okay.
Public shaming.
Oh,
And Justin, you're absolutely correct. By the time they get through the academy, which is 4 months, FTO, which is their field training, we're looking at we're looking 8 months before they're out. If they make it, it's a roll of the dice on every recruit out there. It's 8 months before they start going out pushing a cruiser and being, doing the job. And once again, with new people, as we discussed before, and we'll cover training a little bit later on in this slide, it's once they get out of the academy, the trainings to get the additional stuff that they need for the road cuts down on some of that other field training experience, because they're going through NTOCs, SFSTs, A-RIDE, all the rest of the stuff that's required for them to do their job.
So if we have, like, this 5-year contract, if we have an officer, and let's say we let him go, that we can't hold him to that, paying back the money then, right?
Correct. And like I said, it's always a roll of the dice. They may get here on a bad scene and go, this is not what I signed up for. May have issues with getting through the post-test. There's a bunch of ifs. But I think we vet our people enough to know that we're getting good, solid people that are gonna go, they're gonna pass, they're gonna take the job seriously.
In September, we held a promotional process for detective and corporal. We were able to promote from within. The detective will be assigned to review complex investigations, fraud cases, sex assaults. If we get some type of critical incident, if we get a homicide, the detective is going to be trained up in investigations courses to respond and assist with that. The detective's also going to help with managing evidence and managing the evidence room. The corporal will supervise the patrol officers, help with the field training officer program, and manage the patrol schedule.
Last year, you guys approved a large training budget for us, which we've almost expended. And these are some of the classes that we have sent our folks to become instructors to come and teach us, and to stay on top of the legal stuff of the additional hours. At the bottom, the state requires every law enforcement officer to have 24 hours of training per year. We exceed that. And with the new legislature, the legal updates that we just went through, that there's gonna be some other stuff coming down the pipe that we're gonna need to be well versed on.
We included a slide on just the amount of community events that we participate in throughout the year. Some of these are like summer movie in the park, there's multiple events. Music in the park, there's multiple events. We're currently working on doing Shop with the Cop in partnership with the Sheriff's Office. Soda Pop with the Cop. We've got the Bicycle Rodeo. Just there's a lot of community events that we're involved in addition to just actual police work.
Last year you were gracious in, and I use that word strongly because the computers in the cars were a big expense, and you folks approved them. We've got them installed and operational. I don't think there's a minute that doesn't go by during the day that they aren't being in use. They have made such a huge asset. We're not only tied in, with dispatch and our report writing system, but with Garfield County and other agencies for sharing information. I knew they were going to be a big asset. I just didn't realize how big until they were implemented. And we wanted to show you as got one here in front of us, and say thank you. We also approved 2 new vehicles from last year, which were much needed also. They're one's up and going, and the other ones were, unfortunately, with everything else in the world, we are waiting for equipment. Everything's on back order, and unfortunately, with things on back order, those that do have the stuff are raising their prices. So we are seeing some slight increases, nothing earth shattering, but we are seeing it. Sheila, could you go back one? Our department does have a drone pilot system. At this point in time, we've only got 1 pilot, but we have a couple others that are wanting to go through the training. We've helped with 7 critical incidents throughout Garfield County, including the shooting they had in Rifle. It's not only chase down bad guys, but try to help locate lost children, EMS. It's got a wide variety, and we are getting not only within our own town, but other agencies requesting for mutual aid because of the camera and the FLIR system. See a lot more at night when things are glowing red. I threw this in there because it's been getting some publicity, so I wanted to let you folks know.
Yeah, I saw it driving around the other day.
That we do have it, and it is being used. And to answer any questions you may have on that particular program.
I'm sure they're staying busy.
That they are.
This is the new code enforcement CSO vehicle. We were able to take one of the older police vehicles and rebrand it with code enforcement graphics. It also advertises the TextMyGov app that the town uses. I think Nicole said we've got 235
Can you go down?
subscribers to that.
Hey Sheila, can you go down one?
Back to the code enforcement vehicle, please.
See, somebody stole the hubcaps off of it already.
I think Nicole said we had 235 subscribers in the town for the TextMyGov app, and this advertises that to try to increase the people enrolled in that program. It's got a QR code on it, so people can easily sign up.
We don't have a picture of the back of it, but it's got that on the back with, I believe, the town website and your standard emergency call 911. Thank you.
One of the goals for next year is to rebrand the police vehicles, make them more visible to the public. Also increase officer safety by adding a lot of high visibility reflective graphics. And this is the design that we've come up with, and we're looking at starting that next year.
I like that. That's really sharp.
The striping that you see on the bottom and toward the back, it's highly reflective. You know, in town it's important, but we spend a lot of time, especially in the winter, on the interstate. More they can see us out there. These people hit fire trucks. I mean, so the more protective and reflective we can give them out there on the interstate, I think it's gonna be better for everybody.
I agree.
And as we had talked before, with the 24-hour coverage, I know we talked briefly on it because I wanted to come get to the slides of what we'd be looking at cost-wise. And we will look to get those numbers on calls afterwards, after the on-call time starts.
I think it's important to note too that even though there aren't as many calls in the middle of the night as what we would receive in the middle of the day, officer presence and just having an officer on duty out patrolling and the public knowing that there is an officer on duty all the time, I think that's really important.
May aid our youth in making better choices, knowing that somebody might be driving around. and
Exactly.
catch them on stuff versus sitting around.
Excuse me.
In worst case scenario, the person working overnight, they don't have a lot of calls. They give them time to get caught up on some paperwork while they're doing some routine drives.
And can even be doing some training, some
Trainings,
online
that kind of
training.
stuff, yeah.
Yep.
That'll not put you to sleep.
Lots of coffee.
Online training at 2 a.m., yeah.
Yep.
What could possibly go wrong?
Death by PowerPoint. Which one you on?
The costs.
Okay. You wanna go ahead?
Yep, so we've kind of broken out the, Sheila, if you could go to the next slide, please.
Sheila's right there.
Oh. Thank you.
It would be cool if she snapped her fingers when it happened.
Yeah.
Come on.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That would be
She's
impressive.
good, but not that good.
I wouldn't be surprised if she was able to do it, but
You okay?
Lung transplant's coming.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I've got the costs to add one officer on this slide. It's broken out into salary, the base pay, from a brand new officer, no experience, to hiring somebody like we did from Glenwood with a couple of years' experience. And so that's what that range is. Benefits paid by the town is 30% of the salary, so you've got that range. And equipment total is broken out down below so you can see what a vehicle would cost per year. Those are typically on a 5-year rotation. So fully outfitted vehicle, patrol vehicle is about $100,000. That's paid per year, so 20,000 would go into that 30,500 cost. The radio is another 5. Some of these things, like the rifle, isn't necessarily going to be on a 5-year replacement cost. It could last longer than that. But typically the equipment costs are going to be about $33,500. And so the cost of one officer is going to be anywhere from $105,000 to about $120,000. And then on the next slide, oh, and also we do have a vehicle available. If we do choose to add one officer, we would have those savings for that. So we would not have to buy another vehicle. If you chose to add 2 officers, we would have to buy 1 vehicle so that the vehicle costs are factored into this range of what adding 2 officers would cost. And like Chief mentioned, that would put us to having the majority of the time 24/7 coverage in town.
Is there a way to share a vehicle amongst 2 officers? Or does each one need to have their own for a certain purpose?
There's multiple reasons. Recruitment and retention is one reason why you would want a vehicle per officer. It helped attract the lateral officer from Glenwood because it's a benefit. It's something that he didn't have at Glenwood.
And this is something, if you drive through town, that other agents, we've been doing it for a while, other agencies are now starting to do because they know what a benefit it is. If you drive through town, you'll see Eagle, City of Eagle, Eagle County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, there's a lot
Sorry,
of those in town.
Basalt, Carbondale. Got a lot of cops that live in Basalt. But you'll see them because they're starting to do now what we've been doing for some time because it is such a benefit. It's going to add, with what we have right now, it keeps the mileage down. So with everybody being, as we discussed before, everybody being in charge of their vehicle, proper maintenance, tires, cleanliness, everything stays on top of, it's going to last a lot longer. If we have one guy pulling up, the other guy jumping in, it's going to double, if not triple, those miles.
And maintenance costs.
Throughout that be, cop cars get rode hard and put away wet. I mean, that's just, and if we can take what we have and have it stretched the next 6 years plus with the proper maintenance and well taken care of, that speaks volumes right there.
No Cops on Bikes program?
I'm sorry?
No Cops on Bikes program?
You don't want to see any of my guys in shorts.
Quick
Wasn't expecting that
I
answer,
lived
were
in
you?
Boston when they introduced that, so imagine your typical Boston cop, and then imagine them on a bicycle. It went poorly.
But once again, as I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, but we were talking about before with on-call pay, and we were using, the take-home vehicles as compensation. No, it's not monetary in a check. It saves them fuel traveling back and forth from home. And we're still small enough if we have a critical incident, which we've had a couple, where it's all hands on deck. We've got people in cars equipped and ready to come as needed.
Versus driving to the house, getting
Yeah.
the car,
Get your car.
going.
Getting all the snow off.
Or driving
Yeah.
here to get the car and then.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Chief, I'd encourage you to get to that next program since you have a guest to talk about it, because we're
Oh, I'm sorry.
quickly running out of time.
I brought reinforcements from Garfield County. This is Sergeant Baker. He's gonna cover this next section of the slides because he's a lot more familiar with it, with the lieutenant than I am. Okay.
All right, so a week ago, I was approached by Sergeant Baker with the Garfield County Sheriff's Office. They are looking at adding flock cameras countywide. They would like to put 2 in the town of Silt. This flock camera system is currently in use by the Glenwood Springs Police Department. They have multiple throughout the city. It is basically a cluster of cameras that officers can view on the dashboard. It helps with investigations. It sends alerts if a stolen vehicle drives by. It helps locate missing people. So if you have amber alerts, silver alerts, it alerts the officer immediately. Shows a picture of the vehicle and the plate and direction of travel, and it helps law enforcement locate these vehicles and solve crime. So the Sheriff's Office at the beginning of next year is going to be adding multiple cameras throughout the county, and because Silt is central to the county, people end up here, criminals end up here, people drive through here. It's just a central hub, and it makes sense to add cameras in Silt. With that, we do currently have, the Silt Police Department does have access to the dashboard and to the Glenwood cameras. And we would have access to the cameras that the Sheriff's Office is going to place throughout the county. Currently, it's free. However, it's their Flock, the company is switching it to a pay-to-play program next year. With what it costs for us to just have access, we would actually be able to put 5 of our own cameras in town for the same cost. So we would have 5 cameras in town, and we would also still have access to the Sheriff's Office cameras and the Glenwood cameras. If we don't move forward with that, then we will lose access to the system. One example I would have is all the vehicle break-ins that we had for months over the summer. If we had had this flock camera system in place, it would have aided in the investigation to try to figure out who the suspect was sooner rather than later and prevent us from having all the victims of the vehicle break-ins that we did have.
You have the same car driving around at 4 o'clock in the morning, the cameras are all seeing, it's pretty obvious that something's going on.
Exactly. And also, like, the Sheriff's Office had the incident at the Glenwood Caverns, like 2 weeks ago. Using the flock system that Glenwood has in place, they were able to establish a timeline of when potentially the suspect went up into the caverns by backtracking with his license plate and everything. So it's used for criminal investigations, also amber alerts and silver alerts, trying to find missing people.
Are these installed at a single location, or are they movable?
So I've got a slide, I think 2 slides from now. They are installed at set locations.
Okay.
Talking to Flock, on this map of Silt, the red pinpoints would be mounting locations for the 5 cameras. So there would be one at both ends of town, monitoring traffic coming into Silt. The Sheriff's Office would then have their 2 cameras at the same location, but monitoring traffic going out We would have another camera on the overpass of traffic coming into the roundabout. We would have a camera at the roundabout to try to, if a vehicle did alert, that camera at the roundabout would then be able to show like which direction it went from there. And then the fifth camera would be mounted over by the park and ride on the frontage road. And that would be facing westbound to capture any vehicles. So like if we had a robbery at the Golden Gate, we would be able to backtrack and get the license plate, picture of the vehicle, and that would aid in that investigation. Also, if, say, a stolen vehicle pulled off the interstate to go get gas, because it's one way in, one way out, that would allow us time to go set up to try to capture the vehicle. So those would be the 5 locations that we identified in town to put those cameras. So if we continued with the flock system, we would get 5 flock cameras for the town. We would continue having access to the Glenwood Springs cameras, which we've actually having access to that. We have caught stolen vehicles coming through town just because they've got cameras set up on westbound I-70. By the time the alert comes out, we can set up on the interstate and capture the vehicle. And then we would then have access to the county's flock cameras as well. And likewise, Glenwood and the county would have access to our data, which would aid in their investigations. So it would all work together to help solve crime countywide. Costs, the first year is the $16,350, and that includes the installation costs for the cameras, and then the annual recurring costs are $15,000. All the equipment is maintained by Flock, so if a camera goes down, we don't have to pay anything extra. There's no hidden costs. Flock will come out and install a new camera. Whatever happens with the camera system, it's all inclusive. So we just pay that one set amount a year, and we've got the camera set up. We've got access to the countywide cameras, and that's it. $15,000 a year.
I'll share some of our successes at the sheriff's office and why we are going to it as well. In the last year, we're pretty close to I'm part of the Spear Task Force. So just in the task force alone, using the flock cameras, we're pretty close to $250,000 in seized stolen vehicles coming through on the interstate. So it's been a very large success for us. Also, it should come as no surprise, you guys know that our misbehaving juveniles and our misbehaving adults as well, they don't just strike in Silt, obviously. The kids who are doing car break-ins in Silt are doing them in Rifle, and they're doing them in Battle at Mesa. And we find that time and time again. In Newcastle, Glenwood, they hit all throughout the county. This system really can help us pinpoint those people down and help us in prosecution and catching them and preventing crime, stopping these people from creating more victims in other towns throughout the county is really what this system is going to help us do.
And then I just wanted to point out that this came to my attention after the budget was finalized, so it would be an addition, and it would go under the dues and memberships line item, the cost for the flock system.
Okay. Luckily, budget's not finalized yet, so it's just close. I know it's time for our other meeting to start, but I think I would like to discuss this as an agenda item at the next meeting.
You read my mind. I have many questions, so yeah, we simply don't have the time to go through them and have a thoughtful discussion about it. And I'd like to do a little more research on the company as well as the technology.
So you're saying a future agenda, not tonight?
Not tonight.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
at the next,
At the next meeting.
if we could, yeah.
One question per.
Yes, one person per, perfect, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. We got a lot of questions, so, okay.
Do you have questions on anything else? Okay.
I have a quick question, hopefully. Talk to me about the morale. We talked a lot about the data and the hours and the call volume. Talk to me about morale.
Morale is good. The officers are happy. We're creating opportunities for them with the promotional process by creating the detective position, the corporal position. And it gives the officers that didn't promote, it gives them something to strive towards. I'm also creating a career path for the agency. So so it sets expectations of what classes and trainings that they should attend to meet a police officer 1, police officer 2. If they want to go the detective route, here's the career path for that and all the trainings that you should attend. If you want to go the corporal route, here's those trainings. And then sergeant, I'm creating a career path for that as well.
That's great to hear.
So it sets expectations. It gets everybody on the same page, training-wise, and it improves the whole department. But yeah, people are excited.
And
Super.
people are happy enough to where they're trying to recruit, as we call it, poaching from other agencies. Hey, this is what we've got here, and this is what we got going on. This is where we're going. This is where we came from, and they're pushing this to try to get others to apply.
Okay. And providing top-of-the-line equipment too, the MDTs, in the vehicles. Having the take-home car program. That all helps with morale and recruitment and retention.
We all like fun toys.
By the way, you should thank 2 of your own officers for my advocacy for those last year. I had a great conversation with them at Heydays, and they laid it out for me very simply about safety and time.
Mhm.
And they convinced me in about 3 minutes that it made practical sense.
Yep, that's awesome.
We thank you guys for your time.
Right.
We know we
Thank
have
you.
to
Thank
get
you.
on with the regular meeting.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So we'll pick up the rest of those things on the agenda that were on there. I'm sure that, the town administrator line items will generate even more conversation than did community development and police, so hope you just hang on to your hats.
So this is going to run into tomorrow?
We'll do that next time.
Not only was dinner catered,
But I do-
breakfast will be as well.
Yeah, that's right. But I do want to just point out that as part of your packet tonight, you had the fee schedule. So take a look at that, because obviously we'll want to approve that coming up as well. So take a look at that and be prepared with we'll try to be prepared with any questions you might have. But that's all we have tonight. That's all the time we have.
Everyone need a quick break, or we ready to roll? Let's roll. Okay. Make sure, Sheila, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, Amy's got us. So, awesome. The time is now 7:10 p.m. and we start the regular board meeting. May I have roll call, please?
You're muted, Sheila.
Mayor Reichel,
Here?
Pro Tem Hanrahan,
Here.
Trustee Brittenell,
Here.
Trustee Klassen,
Here.
Trustee Flores, Trustee Poston,
Here.
Trustee Seibert.
Here.
May we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, be seated. All right, the first item on tonight's agenda is public comments. Persons desiring to make a public comment on items not on the agenda please activate the raised hand function in the meeting program. Or Sheila, do we have any phone calls or emails in regards to non-agenda items?
No, I did not hear from anyone today, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I don't show any raised hands either.
Okay.
No one signed in. Tracy's here for a
For
later.
An agenda item? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Easy enough. Then we will move right along to the consent agenda, which contains the minutes of the October 23rd, 2023 Board of Trustees meeting. Would anyone like to discuss that or make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee Seifert to approve the consent agenda as presented, which was seconded by trustee Clausen. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.